Where do you guys live? Where are you
Uh,
located?
yeah, where are we located? Welcome to the Holistic Systems Cooperative meeting on Tuesday, November 21st. I am in Western Massachusetts in the US.
Oh, yeah.
Newman, where are you at?
Yep, I'm in New York City and Lower East Side.
Oh, damn. You are
Yeah,
in the system.
I'm in it. I'm in the thing. That's
Yeah,
there's a lot of boxes around.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
I just came back. I just came back from my it is where like my 7 generations are in the ground, and that's in Eastern North Carolina. And fun little fact is like two sides of my family, like basically one, they both went up the Cape Fear River, the northeast Cape Fear River, and one stopped off at Cypress Creek, and then another side of it, they went just one creek up, Muddy Creek. So it's like they were like in this teeny little spot, generations of family. It's pretty wild. Yeah.
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 How about how about you?
Dominic?
Where are you coming from?
Brazil. I'm near to Rio de Janeiro, but I'm
Huh.
like in the mountains above the city. There's
Uh,
a really it's like a yeah, it's a very special place in terms of like ecology. It's cool.
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so we had a little check-in already. Yeah, I think I'm in that Weave Telegram group, already. Yeah, and Newman, that might be of interest to you. But as we've talked about before, I mean, I think that it's the idea of all of these groups of continuing to connect, and see how we can do that, in more and more ways where where it's bolstering, the collective movement. And yeah, I mean, I'm at a sort of base level, heartened just that, we're connecting just as these groups were connecting, even if we haven't quite figured out, okay, like how do we, connect and work together and collaborate and who does what. There's a way where I almost feel like it might be happening, like already, just in the sense of
Oh, totally.
yeah,
Totally.
all these
Unconscious.
and in
Yeah.
sitting in that question together, because we all really, with that strong, powerful intention of wanting to work together and in this
Yeah.
shared purpose.
But I also, while I know we're in like an alternative movement, we're actually part of just, we are in relationship with the mainstream global movement. And there's a lot of theses and antitheses that are like in relationship, but there's this notion of the old paradigm shifting into the new paradigm. And we have so many fringe or like organizations in the mainstream that are entering the new paradigm that I feel like we can pull them in totally because we're like we're like 100% in, and we're trying to see like, okay, well, how do you make it's like we arrived in a new world, and it's like, okay, well, how do you like, where's the wood around here, like where's the food? How do you get it? um
Right.
so yeah, I you know that coming together, it's so much about the recognition that like we are a people, and we're not like breaking away from civilization, we're evolving civilization. And we want to help everybody, because like I don't think breaking away is actually really a good response to where we stand as in terms of ecological discordance, which I think is the most basic thing that unites all of us. Is like we're looking at an existential threat which is based on root causes which are far deeper than fiscal policy.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't perceive, what I'm doing, certainly, and what we're doing is a breaking away, not at all. I think it's, not, the idea is leave nobody, leave nobody behind. It's just, there's an aspect of breaking away from the current system, not breaking away from, like other people, breaking away from the current system, how to, discover and co-create a system that's actually going to be, workable for what we want from our planet and our species.
And this is where like I hear you, and I think that the breaking away, that sort of division was already done for us over the past like 100 years. Like a lot of, I mean, particularly in the 70s, such a radical shift into the environmental, into the postmodern, right? Postmodernity was like a big statement about we are decentralized. I mean, a lot of the like discussion of decentralization comes from postmodern philosophy. And like I see that where we actually stand now is it's less so like I think like if there's like okay, here's mainstream 500 years ago we created the legal rational structure of states and bureaucracies. We began capitalism hardcore and we started predicating society on modern science. That's like the thesis of the modern age. Then there's been a whole bunch of reactions to that, which have kind of built a bigger reaction. And I see us more as like in this middle point actually of like that thesis and that antithesis are like coming together where we're like, okay, well, we want to create a radically new economics, but we're still going to use the systems that we were given from modernity. Like we want to use this technology, which it was birthed from. Like we're using it to build the thing. So I think it's kind of silly to say like we're breaking away from it. It's like, no, we're totally predicated upon it. We
Hmm.
also I don't like the notion of saying we're breaking away because I think that that is sort of a limited modern notion. We are the outcome of genetics and a multi-billion year process to become what is a Homo sapien today. So it's like breaking away. It's like, well, no, you're just iterating. You're just doing a little iteration. And so it's like, yeah, with that context of the like we're playing this 500-year game, and I see it's like in this middle, like this new like right. That's why synergy is such an interesting notion. They like, I mean, so many people spoke about it, like Buckminster Fuller, other people in like like I mean, systems thinking in general, the primary theorists there. And so I see it's like there's this big thing we created, and like where we're at is like we're this like funny little spot above it where it's all become like the totality of all of that is like what we're doing. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I think breaking away in the it's like to a certain degree that's useful for inspiration, but at the same time, I don't know if that's what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
what we need.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, it's a really interesting point you're making, as far as the terms, and the terminology, and then, from the terminology, births the mindset and the attitude. So, um, yeah,
There's a
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a
Thank you.
great movie. There's a great movie, and I'm gonna have to Asa Butterfield, and he plays. It's like his grandma. It's called House of Tomorrow. Uh, and basically, let me see if I can get tells the of a futurist um architect and inventor Buckminster Fuller. Incredible story through two teens hoping to get laid, become punk rock gods, and survive high school. It's basically he's being raised by his mother, who's a breakaway type, and she runs like a Buckminster Fuller museum or something, and it just basically explains that whole thing. It's just like,
Where did you
yes, you
pull
can.
this from? That was great.
Huh.
Yeah. Here, I'll send the I'll send it over, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
100% exactly what we're talking about here.
Wow.
So many institutions that are investing in this with their research. So many. The Bateson Institute, Buckminster
Huh.
Fuller Institute, Design Science Studio, uh, Civilization Emerging, so many.
Very cool. Thanks for popping that in, Newman. It's awesome. I'm
Yeah,
gonna check that
yeah,
out.
yeah.
All right. Well, should we jump into holistic systems and then into coordinate?
Yeah,
How's that sound?
cool. Yeah.
All right. So I think I think it's a good opportunity to give Don a little context, right? Because and Dominic, is asking me some great kind of basic questions, about holistic systems, really about like the business model, and then right? And then talking about, okay, like, how we're doing the token exchange, how we're exchanging value. So just to give a little context, I mean, right now we're sort of coming, what's here has birthed out of, right? We're using these, like these are just terms to describe that, like a phase 1 and a phase 2, right? So what's here now is sort of, I think, birthed from phase 2, which was, phase 2 is basically like, there is a services, there's an agency, there's some kind of product that can be delivered to outside clients. I mean, client partners, right? So, but it's, it's like the fullness of the vision, if that could happen, right? Which is that there's a bunch of independent contractors and entrepreneurs who are all working together in teams, and there's a scale so that like those teams can then be deployed to clients who need services, right? And so that's like, if at like in this idea at like, that's where it is at full maturity, meaning that we're all sharing resources, we're all working together in this foundation, but then we're all have more and more like direct ways of making money to and earning a living, and it's all done in this collaborative way, right? So that was ambitious at first, especially for something with very little investment or money. So from that, when we really realized, okay, well, like phase 2 is just not doable right now, at least with the resources possible, we need to kind of like narrow into, or move into kind of this phase 1, wind
can I just ask you
down.
a question to clarify?
Yeah.
So you're saying that the original phase 2 was to basically create a DAO consulting service for many different, I mean, what service specifically, or is it just ad hoc miscellaneous, like whatever?
No, I mean, a lot of different, right? Like anything, so like marketing, operations, like technical, project management systems, anything that sort of like professional digital service providers would do. Yeah. Yeah. And so
that came out of our sort of common experience. We'd all done like building someone a website, or doing their social media campaign, or doing a project management on a software development project, or helping somebody do this, or getting a friend into this, or explaining something like this. And so we're like, oh well, we're doing all of the same stuff, and it's just like, does it make sense to make like an agency or something? Hey, Zoe.
Hey, Zoe, welcome.
Why was that unfeasible?
Well, it's unfeasible because it has to be coordinated, right?
Yeah.
And I was, and I was doing all the, the coordination. Then I realized, oh, I'm doing all this coordination, but I'm not actually getting paid for it, which means I'm not, making, like earning a livelihood myself. And then it was, so that's really, I think, the unfeasibility. But I think it all happened exactly as it should. Hi, Zoe, welcome. I'm giving some context to what holistic systems is now. So it might be interesting, to sort of come here to then coordinate. But I think it all happened, like it happens as it should, because basically, what we realized was like, oh, well, we need, for that to ever come about, whether it does or doesn't, it needs to be on this like solid foundation of like, of resource sharing, of value sharing, of community, of people working together who, know each other, who, there's a certain level of trust and reputation. So basically kind of like narrowed everything down to this like minimum viable community, right? So like, Newman was working on that idea a lot, right? So what is the minimum viable community that we need? And with again this shared purpose of, can we as a group, it could be any group, but can we as a group of independent contractors, freelancers, and entrepreneurs, can we come together and exchange value and share resources, in a way that's going to benefit all of us, that's going to synergize what we bring by de-siloing, and synergize that in a way that where we're creating more than we each have individually, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do that. So it's really, starting. So the context that I think is, is most helpful, for you to understand, is that, starting from that place, and then where we're moving to, is how do we exchange value, right? How can we actually facilitate that? And so, where we're, I think as we go along, we're sort of, at least for now, we're saying, how do we do this in the most simple way right now? How do we just do it in this, in the most simple way, but that's going to work and be effective, see if people find value from that, see if people are showing up, prove that concept, and then move to the next. So it's really, a lot of iterating, based on this kind of feedback loop, the sense and respond loop. And so, when you asked, and I pulled up our conversation here, and you're asking, which is a great question, is there, like, how do we exchange value? Like, how does that work in practice? And, to me, that's at this kind of base level, that's the base contribution to me of everyone who's here is playing in that, because if something, like, if we really are able to figure that out and then have a larger group, then it's probably going to be easier for someone to then come in to that group and, harvest reap the benefits, So right now we're really like trying to create answer that question, which is how do we exchange value? And so, right. So that's, like, I think that started with the member portal, and, we're seeing, okay, well, what works with the member portal, what doesn't, you had some great ideas and suggestions. And, for me, like, it's still getting off the ground. We're still figuring out how to, onboard people. We're still figuring out, okay, well, how can people start to take on, some roles and contributions helping HSC. And, for me, the one thing that I saw as we were going along, in addition to the other things, was that, the actual, like, value exchange, it needed a better mechanism than, a contribution log. Like I wrote in the email yesterday, to me, I couldn't really even incentivize myself, to write in that log. But that's where Coordinape comes in. So I want to just, open up any, comments or thoughts on what I just shared, or questions. But then I think it'd be great to take a look at Coordinape, because I think it's a tool that, for that particular purpose, of the how do we practically share and exchange value, I think is really freaking great.
I love hearing the story again, because I always get sort of insight into it. I really think about, or I've been thinking, I'm Simon Sinek. He wrote a book called Start With Why, and I'm listening to a book called The Infinite Game. And he talks about that companies or groups have a thing called a just cause. And where people get or groups go off the rails when they forget their just cause. And he used the example of Kodak. Eastman Kodak created simple cameras so that everybody can make, images. And and then, you know, flash forward 100 years and digital cameras and all these different contexts come, and they sort of, what they, their leadership decided to like basically try to make money or sell their products, and they forgot like making images, and they didn't see digital cameras as, they didn't see it as an opportunity, and they made a bunch of decisions for uh, made a bunch of decisions to that kept that mindset of that this was what we are doing. And so I think that HSC is a facilitating value exchange. Like Rob, like that's kind of what we kind of got. It's just like there is a value exchange, and it really is synergy. It's the concept of synergy, is that inside of a group that there's energetic transfer that like creates more. It's like a, you know, the team effect. You know, it's like, well, we could all do this on our own, but it wouldn't be a magic, that magic synergy thing. And so, and then you're talking about like that first iteration where we had this big agency idea, and then we started like, you know, let's go minimum, like what is it that very, very small, like what's the seed of it that could grow into a big thing. And then we were like, okay, well, we're working in Notion, let's make a spreadsheet. And then we're like, the spreadsheet's kind of a drag. Even we're all like, do I, and some of the things like the dollar amount and the time, and we're like, it's just kind of a. So now there's a new system that is that's more from that new paradigm. Like basically, like what we were talking about is it's like we're using the old paradigm tool, like a spreadsheet or a, you know, or a dollar amount. Um, we're using those tools, but now there's a new tool in Coordinape that I think I don't know that much about it, but I'm curious that it might really solve a problem.
I actually love where we're currently at in the dialogue, because we're actually, Rob, we're really at this point of like, I mean, when I use the term business model, like it's kind of crude. I don't think it like matches entirely like what I'm really trying to express, because I see what you're doing is you're really founding a digital tribe. But this term business model, it's like, okay, well, like what is like the foundational structure of how it works? That's the question with the business model. So it's getting super clear. And it's like almost as I'm sitting here, I'm getting this sensation where I say digital tribe. It's like you have this team of people, maybe there's like 16 people who are really like committed, and they all have their own lives in New York, in Massachusetts, wherever. And they do their work. They gather their wood, they gather their food, you know, they work their freelance job with like whatever their companies are, the partners they work with, etc. And then with their surplus resources, which might be their energy or whatever else they have, they're coming into this space and they're bringing it together and saying, like, yeah, I feel stronger having my home with a group of other people. And I think I can do that with you guys. And so it creates like, and I actually think it's really amazing that you dropped the phase two and you went down to this essential level of just the mixing pool of just like, what are we guys? Like we're all together. Like, how do we do this? What are the next moves? I think that's so good. And now like you've been forming really an emotional and somewhat operational, right? Because the community, the telecommunications, like the portal, that you're creating this, you know, modality of interconnection. And what is it? What means a lot to us? And so emotional check-ins, making sure everybody's good, that like they're all supported, that if people have any questions, those are brought to the center first. That's really like like that's how we identify. That's how we like to show up together. That's what we do here in this tribe. And so, yeah, I that to me is like that's really helpful. Like learning how that it like blew up and has now like simmered down, and now it's almost like you understand what the essence is,
Mm,
and now it's like,
mm,
well, okay, like now we make choices and we're trying new things and we're doing X, Y, Z, but the essence has been sort of has revealed itself, who you are, the types of people you attract, what's your gravity, what magnetizes people. and leaning into it, because evidently there's like, there's a small core who do really care and are nourished by this relationship and engagement.
Mm.
That's
Thank
well
you.
said. Yeah.
Yeah, what a beautiful reflection.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. And it's right, and and I think it's creating it is creating a model. That's the idea. It's creating a model for a way to collaborate,
I think you
and to
might
share
also not
resources.
know. I think you might not know yet what you're going to become. That's the crazy thing.
Uh,
Like,
totally.
like it becomes something new and different that, and a lot of that's like, what is actually asked, what is needed of us in the world, and what's real value that like maximizes the potential of this. And I think that that's like a big question. I mean, for individuals, like that's kind of how you like first choose, like, well, what am I going to do for work? Like, where do I perform well? We get information from like our relationship with the environment. When I say environment, that's other people, that's other things. It's like you do a certain job well, and they're like, oh, you did that like really good job. Like you got an A+ on the, like you did really good in history and English, but you weren't very good at chemistry and math. It's like, okay, you get that feedback loop of like, okay, like where do I naturally perform? What do people like for me? And maybe the organization's in that moment of like starting to feel like, okay, well, like these are the people that come in, like these are the people that like it, these are the people that stay, here are the people that show up. What are we doing that's creating that vibration? Lean into that and understand what is that vibration, then like receive value for it, right?
Yeah,
What is the social value? And
yeah,
that, yeah, that might be a question.
yeah. Absolutely. I think it's really great to take in. Yeah. Um, Thank you, Zoe. Hi.
You want to
Any
lend some vibration? Lend some vibration?
Yeah, but before we switch over to the structural heartbeat of section of the meeting, yeah, anything, any comments from what we popped in on? Great.
Nice to, like just drop in on this amazing conversation. I love it. Sorry, I was late. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know much about Coordinape. I just took a look at their website. As Rob knows already, I have a fear of technology and especially new applications and coins and yeah, cryptocurrency in general. It could either be due to me just not liking cryptocurrency in general and how people speculate on it a lot, but I know this community is different than that. And you're really using it as a marker of real value to make sure everyone is taken care of. So it's different, I understand. But I'm just also really lazy and I don't want a wallet. I don't want to like just managing my bank account, my fiat bank account is tiring enough. So that's, Rob knows that's always where I stand, but I'm excited to learn more about these technologies because I would never do this kind of study myself. So you guys are helping me into that world and understanding it. So I'm excited for Rob sharing Coordinape today. And at the same time, like, you'll know that even if there were no transactional marking system or currency or coin, I would still be in this community and giving as much of my value as I can. And I think that's the kind of ideal community, is where we don't need markers of transaction and we all just, that synergy and offering of the surplus we all have just happens. So that's like the goal in my mind, because I don't want to deal with another wallet. But no, show me Coordinape. It'll be a great experience for me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Honestly, for me, that's the ultimate goal as well. I mean, for me, like the vision ends, with actual communities and localities and ideally communities and, you know, localities, you know, on the ground, you know, in an economy that doesn't, you know, require, you know, currency exchange.
Right.
To me, you know, that would be my end vision. And
Right. But maybe I'm naive to think we could get there right now. Who knows? We'll see.
you know, I mean, I think that my theory, you know, is my working theory is that we need like a transition, you know, to be able to get there.
It kind of, yeah, it's like,
And yeah,
it makes
yeah.
sense.
And that's, you know, I don't know, you know, I don't know, you know, I don't have exactly the answer, but I think that's, you know, that's the sort of theory. And to, you know, because what we're doing, I think, no matter whether we're using currency or not, is we are re-enculturating ourselves. You know, that's what we, you know, we're it's a re-enculturation of, okay, how do we share value? How do we collaborate? You know, how do I not compete against you to get my basic needs met? And so, you know, I think, you know, I think with that, right, then you say, okay, well, there's this tool, you know, to you know, sort of tokenize value, right? So then we can play with it, you know, and explore that together. You know, if we're exploring it from that, you know, base, you know, foundation of collaboration, then maybe, you know, maybe that can work, that can be okay. You know, and also to just say and to name, like, I always, like, I appreciate, you know, Zoe and having Zoe here, and, you know, her viewpoint, you know, and concerns about crypto, because I think that that's really important. That's a really important voice to have, you know. And you know, for some people who, you know, I mean, myself in some ways, who, you know, want to, you know, really barrel ahead, it's you know, Zoe has actually been really helpful for me, you know, over the past however long, year or more, you know, in really seeing like where the, you know, where the challenges and the potholes, you know, in this crypto world, and the promises, you know, like leading with potential of future value, and the issues with that. So yeah.
I just want to pop in and just be like, there is so obviously like a deep question in this group about new world economics. Like that's and I know that Zoe comes from like a Marxist perspective. That's actually what me and
Yeah.
her have in common.
It's been
And
nice
like,
emailing with you.
yeah, well, I actually think most people have never studied Marx. They comment on things they've heard about, but so like it's a different thing when you can introduce him from the inside as an incredible scholar, as a humanist, and as somebody who long time ago saw the inequalities of capitalism and said, whoa, we gotta adjust. And we're kind of living in what he envisioned, where we're discussing, you know, how do we do this in community, right? So I think that critical perspective is amazing. And so like we're almost like, you know, there's almost like how can the organization, like, what if you guys did deep research and propose new ideas for new world economics? Because like that's obviously your big question mark as a unit, as like a thing. And you have so I mean, you basically have an amazing team of researchers and creators and producers and digital handymen that can like formulate it. And then, you know, you guys as a tribe can be posting that on Better Worlds and be getting compensated in Better World tokens. So maybe they're like, yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm just like, I feel what you guys are processing, and I'm like, and I'm here, right? I'm like in various organizations being like, well, how do we all empower each other and like become stronger? Because I know that what I trust, like the key fidelity marker is the people's hearts. Is it's the most clear thing. Like those who have sort of done the deconstruction of the chain on their heart and like open and be like, wait, let's really make this world better, like deeply. So that's like the fidelity marker. And I'm just, I see, like, it's like this huge question mark here, which I think like there's big questions with like, what does capital mean? Actually, like what, like in a post-industrial environment, where does resources come from? And how are we returning that extracted energy back into Gaia? Those are things like I only hypothesize about. I was walking down the street today and I realized like, wait, I understand the extractive economy. It's like we just measure everything we take out, but we don't actually measure what we give back in. Which is like the fundamental rule. This is like, right,
Beautiful.
Rob, you're saying in phase 2 you got burnt out because you weren't getting paid. In a very crude sense, what you're saying is you were just giving, and there wasn't the return. Just like we're taking from Gaia, and we're not measuring. Well, are we at least putting the same amount back in, if not more? But so we're in a crazy situation. All of us as post-industrial workers, incorporeal workers, we don't like, it's kind of confusing. What is our resource? It almost makes us feel like we're cut off at the legs. And I see that is a huge space of investigation, of not like, oh, let's just like act and innovate, but like let's actually understand like what is the relationship to the world. And then so like now I'm like kind of bird on the wall, like that's amazing content that the tribe, the collective tribe, could be remunerated through better worlds, right? By putting media there. Because Basil kind of created a token with these studios that returns media creators through better worlds. And so you could really come in there and support Basil by getting sort of new world economic research in there, and the tribe gets remunerated as a team. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people, what's like the population of this tribe?
It's yeah, I mean it's still pretty small. I mean, I think that you have like kind of the more core population of maybe like five or six people, and then but I think it's people who are I don't know what I mean. What do you think, Newman? And like people who are here now, there might be like who are in the circle presently, 12 to 15.
Yeah.
And I think right now it's at this place. It feels right like we're like there's people who are ready to jump in. We just need to get the get the tools or the systems in place to allow people to to do that. So, and then yeah. So on that note, should we jump in?
I've got another meeting that I can shade out a little bit. I definitely want to catch this first bit of Coordinape.
All right. Yeah, then let's jump into it. So
I will need to drop out in like 5 minutes, but put a pin in everything that's happened so far.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I'll do a real quick rundown. There's a thing that just that sparked from what you were saying, Dominic, about that like there's something about Haifa. There's something about like Coordinape and meeting the folks who are building these tools, right? That there's certain values that are built into the tools, and that I think makes a big difference. It isn't just some like secondary thing. So I like it. It's pretty it's pretty simple. So this is holistic systems. Let's go to the sample DAO. And it's going to be a little easier to see. All right, so you can invite new members. So basically, the like this main screen is like the activity screen. So the activity screen is showing what everybody is, all the contributions, right? So people, we just you log your contribution. So Harry the helper walk new users through, and then I think you can, oh, well, there's Harry the helper. Okay, so you can click on Harry the helper, and then it's going to just show all of Harry's contributions for the epoch, which is what they're calling the, like the time period, right? So everybody gets, a certain amount you know, tokens for each time period. That could be 2 weeks, that could be a month, whatever. I don't know if it's going to allow me to do it here, but you know, it's like you know, I facilitated a meeting.
Okay.
And so, you know, so that's all it is, right? You just, you know, you can write as much as you want, you know, of supporting kind of material, but this is how we log it, right? You know, so pretty simple and pretty, you know, easy for folks. And then, you know, as you go along, you can just see that, right? The epoch, right? So here, they're just saying, okay, well, this is a week. And so, you know, again, we'll get to the give, but you know, so in a week, right, they have, this is very cool. So this is like
What?
a, you know, and so it's a visual way to, you know, to chart like where the value flow is coming from, you know, so like who's giving, you know, so what's going on with, you know, with Harry. All right, well, people are, you know, there's a good amount of value flow going, you know, to Harry and then from Harry. So this is, yeah, this is a very kind of cool visual of it. This I think is a log. Oh, this is maybe a log of my own contributions.
Okay.
And then, right, so then the give, right, this is kind of, to me, this is like the real meat of it, right, is the, you know, the give page, right? So everybody, right, if you click on Beth, you're going to be able to see, okay, oh, okay, this was Beth's contributions. And then I can say, oh, okay, yeah, like that thing that Beth did, adding the onboarding details, that was just amazing. So I'm going to, out of my, you know, 500, whatever, I'm going to give 25.
What? Oh
yeah.
my God, that's so cool.
Quarter.
Yeah. And then Clarence, I didn't work with Clarence. And of course, Harry, you know, helped me out a lot. Or I could just, if I'm just too busy to think about it, distribute it to evenly to everybody, you know, of what I have left. And
now
then
okay.
Yeah, and then, you know, Zach, right, so there's circle, yeah, so I'll keep going. So, you know, Zach was there's some other, yeah, there's some other cool things to in some organizations that, you know, that he's in. But, you know, what he said was that he felt like it was, what they found is that it's really important, you know, not only just to give people the, you know, the tokens, but to, you know, leave the note, you know, to sort of say, oh, okay, like this, you know, the appreciation, this was
Nice.
so helpful, you know, or like, you know, you hurt my feelings or something.
This and Zoe, this is exactly that sort of, so like the little note is a non-monetary acknowledgement of the exchange, right? It's sort of like, yeah, it's just like, you know, here's just a thing that you
Yeah. And it's interesting because, right, Zach was saying sometimes, like a lot of times people like, you know, like they get more value from the note than they do from the tokens.
Of course, yeah.
Right. And so then we showed the map, right? You can see, okay, here's the members, you know, so everybody's tracking everybody, right? So all of this is actually on blockchain. So it's all transparent, what's happening. And then, you know, and then you have circles, right? So I think, you know, at first there's just going to be one circle, but I think it does, having circles allows this to scale, right? Because you have an organization, and then, you know, you can have, right, if it's a DAO, you can have different teams, right? So you say, oh, okay, well, there's, you know, there could be a marketing circle, there's an operations circle, or, you know, a circle could be just like pods, you know, like we've been talking about. We're saying, oh, okay, these 7 people are kind of like a pod and they're going to share together, but then we can, you know, so just ways to set it up. Yeah, Dominic.
How do, and maybe you're getting to this later, but how do these the symbolic exchange convert to matter?
Right. So the symbolic exchange, so there's a few ways that it can do that. Well, the basic answer and what I like is that it can convert to actual matter in any way that we want it to. So in other words, at a very basic level, at the end of the epoch, we can just download this as a spreadsheet, right? So you download it as a spreadsheet, and then you can, you have that information. So it's whatever value we give to it. They actually have something in here that there's something called a co-vault, where actually this can convert into real money, or into fiat money, right? So there's, so you can have money in a pool. So we could say, okay, well, everybody's going to just like put in $5 in a pool, and we'll just distribute that around. The other way that I think is, another way that specifically, I was talking about is that we can take these numbers and then convert them into the Hypha ecosystem, right? So these can become co-op tokens, right? And then co-op tokens what's that?
What is a co-op token?
Yeah, a co-op token is
Well,
is
just any.
Holistic Systems Cooperative, the DAO, right? So this is on the Hypha ecosystem. This is a DAO. So a co-op token here, there's a certain amount of co-op, tokens that are right that you have, and so a token is the way to exchange from DAO, like from DAO to DAO. So that's kind of a bigger conversation, but essentially you can create an organization using this, but I have always wondered whether really large scale and quick and easy value exchange of little things is going to be efficient here. But I think if you use a complementary tool like Coordinape, and then every month, then you just sort of take those totals and enter them into there. Or we just say, hey, this is, these are worth whatever, heart icons that I'm going to send. This is worth, a bell ding at the meeting, whatever. So that's the idea. The sky's kind of the limit as far as how they can be then utilized.
It could be the vault could be every month there's a $5 tax for every member of the tribe, and then the proportional distribution of the gives equates to a proportion of the vault.
Yeah,
that would be how
exactly.
it could work.
Yeah,
and that would work
exactly.
And
that
I think
that's in a sense, it's that's the economics of the ecosystem, or the tokenomics, but what I like, and again, to say what we're doing here that I like, is that we can make it really simple at first, Like we don't have to plan out, which is what I tried to do for a long time. And it's fun exercise, but we don't have to plan out some giant token economy.
Right.
Yay.
So I believe it. Yeah.
I avoid headache, but planning an economy sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, there's a way where if we're creating something that works, within a small group, then it's almost like that's an economy that probably has a better chance of working than something that's we plan out theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
Centrally planned economies.
Yeah.
We know that there's a problem. We know that there's an issue with that. So a non-centrally planned Marxist economy. That sounds good to me.
Sounds good. Interesting. Yeah. And then the last thing just to share, and then of course, we can open up. I know that, a couple of folks have to go. The last thing to share, is that this does require some kind of wallet. But Zoe, I like what the folks have done here. Let me just bring in this. Let me see. Get started.
I think you can do it with an email.
Okay. Well, I'm logged in here. Yeah. So there's 4 different ways. Here I can show you this. So there's 4 different. Let me see. Getting started. Where is members get paid? Sorry. Sorry. Oh, here. wallet? What's a wallet? How it works. Oh yeah, okay, so here there's, so you can have a MetaMask wallet, a Coinbase wallet, something called Wallet Connect, or there's something you know, which makes it easier for folks, you know, lower gate, you know, is this thing called a Magic Link, which essentially is just they just are custodians of your wallet, so that way you don't have to like figure it all out. So then you can use an email login. But you know, but everything is, you know, on chain, is on the, you know, Ethereum blockchain. So you know, and we can go over that, right? That's going to be, you know, that's going to be just like the thing that's going to be for folks who, you know, aren't crypto savvy yet. It's going to be the thing that they're going to have to sort of work on the most, you know, right? And actually just where's my, don't worry, there's nothing secret here, but this is my MetaMask wallet that I created today. I have 0 ETH and 0 US dollars. So so that's Coordinape, you know. And I think, you know, we have to, you know, decide, like, you know, really like, okay, well, how do we want to do this, you know, not only as far as like, you know, the tokens, but also what's our tech stack? Do we want to keep Discord? Do we want to, how do we, you know, like, we need the member portal for, you know, for the needs and offerings list, you know. So I think that the tools is something that, you know, will evolve by, you know, how it works. But I think this Coordinape is really just made, you know, it's made and delivered, you know, for this kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah. Thoughts, comments, questions?
I need to hop off, but thank you for this introduction, and thank you for divulging more about the story of the organization.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
It's awesome. Thanks,
You're welcome.
Dominic.
Yeah. Thank you for coming and continuing along and you know, helping co-create it.
Ciao, everybody.
Bye.
Newman, where are you at on time?
Well, I was like, now I'm going down a rabbit hole with my wallet and some crazy scam that I got involved with. I'm like, oh, is that still around? Oh no, it's not. It's not around. There's a you know, sell this domain where the thing is, and oh well, there's a couple of, it's just a few bucks. But yeah, what can you,
I'm so sorry. That sucks.
it's all good. It's been, you know, like I kind of, you know, I took it just like when I was at T-ball and they were like, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. Like I believed them. And when they said, you know, with crypto investing, you know, don't put anything in that you're not, you know, not willing to lose. And so I'm like, oh yeah. And this one doesn't, this one was, you know, it was an airline ticket. It wasn't a used car, you know, it wasn't a, you know, and so it's like, which is what I gotta buy now. It's actually my next task is to get my ticket to California for my house sitting gig. But that being said, that is a really good description of the Coordinape. I do like, I've often heard, and I don't know if where that came from, that that idea of at a periodic time, I like the epoch, you know, because it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be 10 days, it could be, you know, a lunar cycle, that we all get an allowance, and then with that allowance, we distribute it to whatever. And I think, and then so I really like that, and I've heard of people doing that in a analog way, like pirates. They just like, okay, how much treasure do we get? We throw it into the pot, and then they grab out of the pot, you know. And that's actually a pretty cool, you know, it's a pretty cool. I just feel like it's, you know, we're talking about like our paradigm and our humanness, and I feel like that type of distributing of the resource, whether it's, bananas that were collected out on our gathering walk, or textiles that we've spun, through the season or this epoch, like I just feel like we've been on like a weird experiment with capitalism and industry, and like media, and keeping people from this, or this and that, like we've been on a weird experiment. Actually, the metaphor that we talked about earlier, of like we are in a new world, and we are like, oh yeah, what's the food here, what's the water here, like we are sort of figuring it out. And I think it's a part of the work, like the heart work that Dominic was talking about, is that we realize that we're working with like old paradigm tools, and that's going to give us some static. For instance, if you say the word Marxist in a certain company, they're going to be all flipped out because that was the enemy for a long time. And
Or
so
still.
Yeah, still. I don't tell anyone I'm a Marxist.
yeah, because you kind of understand, that like the
Yeah.
grief that you will get, so all it is cool to put it in context, and it's great to hear that kind of retelling of the story of like, oh yeah, this is where we are. And I like, that's actually, it's like, okay. And he got it. I think that Dominic got it. And it's probably good to go back and look at that video, because the way you explained it was really, really well done.
Yeah.
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 Tried. Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so these conversations definitely do have value. I am, I came in a little bit low, and I'm like, oh, I got to get this plane ticket. I'm like, oh, did I leave it too late, et cetera, et cetera. But whatever, it all comes out in the wash. But now I'm excited. Now I'm pumped up. I know that Coordinape or some tool like that will come on. And we've talked about this. We're like, this is just the first step. This spreadsheet is just, it was expedite, like just to start the party. And now, the people at the party were like, you know what, it's kind of a drag to do a spreadsheet, and it's just not. But if these little flows and these new little systems, they might excite the party and make people like, oh yeah, we love it. And wouldn't it be cool if we put our 2 Slurpees, our 2 milkshakes into the pool, and we saw exactly where it went? Like, like, right, this is the thing. And then because I want to support with my resources this mission, this just cause, new economic policy, new way of coordinating people, people getting together and talking, even if it's just Rob doing a silly trumpet sound, I'd pay $5 to see you do that, whatever. But if I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I'd put in, and I just want to see it. I think that the economic machinations is just so hidden from me now, and I don't know how to interact with it or do with it. I'll start with just being, and actually, Rob, you said it, like be aware and act accordingly, or you made a mention of this, this concept, and I think that's a great first step. So I'm in support of Coordinape. I will definitely look through the docs and see, do some research, because, if we could get that established, that'd be cool. Yeah, and I know that I have a wallet or 2 that are compromised, so I need to, like, in my MetaMask, I need to, like, which one is the one I'm using? Which one's the one I got? I was in a hack. I was in a hack way back in the day, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, don't be scared, Zoe. It's like,
Yeah, don't be scared.
Newman's been like digging into these wallets, and he's like a lot. He's been playing in it a lot, right?
Yeah, I've been playing it a lot. Yeah, and
I think I have like crypto PTSD, because I worked for this like company in Korea, and my boss was he owned a wallet, and he had, I don't know how many people used his wallet, but his wallet got hacked, and all his clients' money or crypto.
Oh no.
And I remember it was just me and him having dinner that night, and he was just like fucked. Like, oh my God, it was horrible. Yeah. So I have
That
like PTSD with crypto, you know?
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
definitely
Well, I hear
dramatic.
you, and I think that this is actually, it could be, right? Like, I'm not going to tell you how to, you know, get rid
Oh,
of,
babe.
heal your PTSD.
Yeah,
But
right.
I do think it's, especially as I'm going through the process, it could be a helpful, entryway, because it's not getting a wallet to like buy a bunch of crypto, and then have, right, even,
Right.
right,
Yeah. And who would
like,
steal our co-op
Yeah,
coins?
our co-op tokens. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
exactly.
nobody's
Yeah,
stealing our
babe, why
co-op
wouldn't it?
tokens, and even,
No, no,
right, like
that's
the
the best
thing
way.
is, and I've been experimenting, right? So I have, like 3 different wallets, and I have, right, but I don't really have any money that, like total like $200 or something, in crypto. So, oh, bye, Newman.
Go. I gotta go. See you, man. Thanks.
All right.
Ciao.
All right.
Take care.
Talk to you soon.
Uh-huh.
So in that sense, I don't like, I'm unconcerned about getting hacked, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm not like, an investor, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's ways, right? Like if we do say, okay, well, now I want to put in, like, at a certain point, if there's like a significant amount of value in there, okay, then I do the things that I need to do in order to not get hacked. I get a cold storage wallet. I get, I don't think it's an inevitability, to get hacked. I think it just, there's a big learning curve here, and you're
Yeah.
still at the, right now we're still at the, the front edge of it.
Right. I feel bad that I feel like I'm gonna make you guys do all the coin playing. And I think that I'm gonna just like hardly go on Coordinate. And have my little account, and maybe I'll say when I contributed, but I don't think I'll even tell when I'm contributing. Like invoicing my clients is hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to
Yeah.
go on, yeah. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's awesome for whoever wants to use it, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, there's another way, right? Like there's because the other thing that we're working with, is like, how do we share, how do we exchange value? So, and so then the question is like, well, how do we, right? So if you do a skill share, then you want, okay, so then this is a way where you say, okay, well, I'm going to put that contribution in, and then, right, this is a way to at the base level to sort of like I think the base level isn't even sharing value, it's assigning, it's sort of like assigning value or playing in the valuation, right? And in these new models, because then the second level, is like, oh, okay, now I did this thing, so now I want something like, I have I want to take somebody up on their offering. Right. So I want help, with branding, from Nyla. So, okay. So, and then it's like, okay, well, how do you, right? It gets to this question. Okay. How is somebody not just like taking, like hitting everybody up for their offerings, but then never sharing anything?
Okay. I see. Yeah. I guess I was sort of just envisioning that there were like the base offerings for all members, like the Skillshare, any member can attend and not feel like they're taking someone else's time too much. And I just like, go to all the membership things. But you're right, if I want to get like a personal consult with someone, how am I giving back to them? And it would be the coin. So I understand that now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't really know like what the best way to do it all is, you know, but I think, you know, yeah, I think if it is, you know, there has to be some kind of method to facilitate it, you know, if we want to be, you know, kind of synergizing the resources and the value that we have. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
really, you know, and I don't know, you know, and it's such a good question. And I think that you're, you know, like the you know, the ideas and the frameworks, you know, and the mental, you know, sort of mindset that you're bringing in, I think is helpful, right?
The lazy mindset.
People are lazy.
Yeah.
How do we work with lazy people
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. We have
Uh,
to know that.
yeah. Hmm.
Right. And so
Yeah.
how is it? Yeah, you know, but everybody is lazy in a sense, you know, of like, even if you sort of call laziness like, hey, I have a lot to do, you know, right? So
Yeah.
where is the incentive? I mean, I do think that like, right, there is a way where if you have, you know, there's a certain small enough number, right? Like, so if there's like 5 people, you know, we're all like, okay, we're just going to exchange, you know, value and help each other. Like, I don't know that you need to have a, you know, a token tracking system or something.
Right.
You know, it's probably like, because everybody's, you know, but
Just
at a certain,
community.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it's a group, you know, sharing value. It's a certain, but at a certain point,
Mm.
at a certain point, I don't know where, you know, where that point is, 5, you know, 7, 10, 20 people. It doesn't, you're not able to, you're not able to track everything, right? Because if in a group of 5 people, you are actually tracking value. You're just doing it,
It's,
you know,
yeah.
just in this, yeah,
Right.
you know.
And then simultaneously, because so I'm thinking of ISC as like a comparison. Of
Yeah,
course, there's no coin or anything at ISC, and a lot of there's a lot of unequal giving and taking as well.
yeah,
Some certain people put in a lot more than others, and other people just take. But it's like, you know, the communist definition is like to each according to their need, or from each according to their ability, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
some people who have a lot, they just give. And of course they shouldn't do what like you end up doing sometimes, is giving so much that you get depleted. So there has to be a way to prevent you from being burnt out like that. But then other people, like certain people don't have the ability to leave their house because of disabilities. So a lot of us like go to their house for meetings and
yeah, yeah,
travel
yeah,
pretty far. Certain people travel a long way, other people don't travel at all. And yeah, a lot of people don't do any work, but they just attend the events and have fun. And that's all sort of okay. It kind of works. So part of me is like, what's the worst that could happen if we just tried a community without coins? But some people might feel resentful eventually. That's a possibility.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'm good. I'm just holding that question. Like if we try a community, because you know, like the purpose of this community is you know, collaboration and that shared value exchange, you know, that synergizing of our resources. So how would that, you know, so that, you know, because everything we're talking about, I think is, you know, like the exchange, it's all just tracking it.
Yeah.
Even currency, right? It's just, you know, we're sort of saying, okay, well, we're just tracking what people are doing.
Yeah. I guess part of me wants to move away from that, but I get it.
Yeah.
It solves the problem. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, that's a good question. Like, could we do it with, you know, because I think that with you know, there's still this idea, right? That like, oh, just because somebody doesn't have, you know, like, right, if there's somebody who doesn't, you know, have the ability, you know, to contribute as much,
Right, exactly.
right? But do we say that I think that's part of it. Do we say like, oh, well, they're not producing as much value, you know, or they're taking and not, well,
Right.
maybe not. Like maybe they're just like, you know, maybe their contribution be, okay, I attended the meeting, and then, you know, could give them a bunch of tokens for that, you know, or their contribution might be like, hey, I'm here, I'm a human being, or, you know, and maybe that's who I want to, like, you know,
Yeah.
maybe I, you know, like I'm assigning that person a lot of value because, right, you know, in that way, like according to their needs, you know, and their,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
don't want to be responsible for figuring out how much value to assign to certain things people do, because that's hard. It's yeah, that's hard work. Almost impossible in my mind.
well, then I think this button's for you.
Oh yeah? Let's see.
Distribute evenly. Like,
Oh, that looks awesome.
yeah, you just
Okay.
give everybody the same amount. Boom, done. You're out
Hey,
the door.
okay. Fewer buttons to press too. That's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Distribute evenly. No, I think you're all right. Well, yeah, how would that work? I mean, I really, I'm not like, I want to like explore that. Like if you, right, because I get at ISC, there's no, you know, there isn't, you know, there,
Mhm.
right, there's not tracking of what people are doing or not, you know, other than just
Right.
like our normal tracking, like you're saying, you know, who's contributing a bunch and you know who's not.
Oh, but this might address. Okay, so there are the core members who do a whole lot more of the work, and we haven't finalized all this, but we kind of let them like take from the, have lunches on the monthly membership we pay. Like we let them kind of take it a dip into that as much as they need.
Yeah,
And that's what you would be doing because you're like the one setting up this whole infrastructure. And I'd be okay if you just kind of dipped into the taxes as much as you needed because you're kind of the government and I vote for you. And I think everyone who's part of this community votes for you too. So that you don't feel resentful of all the work you're putting in and how little you're receiving. And then as other core members who do like a certain really central, difficult job come in, maybe we would in ISC we aim to have voting at a certain point, but we need more people to get to that. But we will have general assembly and voting every year.
yeah,
Voting for the core members.
yeah.
But I vote for you. And yeah, I'll put in $5 a month for sure at this point. And if you're hungry, you should totally go buy a burger or something.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
even tell that to the ISC core members sometimes, like, you guys eating enough? Like, my money is going to you guys going out and relaxing. Yeah.
Yeah. So how would, I mean, I'm just you know, I'm right, because it's just two of us at this meeting, so we can do whatever we want. Nah. So I'm just playing, yeah, you know, in this, right? Because it, you know, as a way of, you know, like would that work? You know, again, if the goal, right? Because the goal of ISC, right? The value that's providing, you know, that's coming out of it. Everybody's putting in effort, so they're no matter what, everybody there is putting in something, and the
Yeah.
value that's coming out is, you know, the production of, you know, like is social, you know, is a social movement,
Yeah.
is, you know, is information, is spreading information, is
Information, content, and just camaraderie.
yeah,
Yeah. And like Skillshare sort of stuff too. But yeah, when people give to Skillshare, they're not expecting anything in return, and that's so like easy for my brain to handle.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I love the enthusiasm for these like tokenomics systems that people in our group here have, and I don't want to stifle that. I just want to be the lazy one.
Yeah. Well, you
Mhm.
can, I mean, you know, Zoe, you can you know, I think a long time ago, you know, I sort of came to acceptance of the fact that like that you can participate or not participate, like, you know,
Awesome.
at
Yeah.
whatever level you want. You know, I mean, I'm
I
always
might
going to sort of
forget.
like,
Yeah.
you
I'll
know,
forget to enter some things on the Coordinape often, and
I
that's
mean, if
okay with
you're
me.
honestly, Zoe, if you are willing to get you know, like some kind of, even if it's the easy email wallet, you know, if you're willing to get a wallet and be in Coordinape, you know, and just be a
I'll
member
start an
there.
account. I'll start an account for the community.
Yeah. You know, then that's a big thing, right?
I'll
Um,
do that. Absolutely.
yeah, you know, and playing it. I don't, yeah, you know, I mean, I'm trying to think. This is just like how this is sort of my thought for how to do, you know, create the value you're creating here, you know, which is um yeah, which is everybody, you know, everybody putting in their resources, you know, like creating, it's just like the value is a shared resource pool.
Cool. It's so cool. And I'm like really excited actually to see what you guys do with Coordinate and how it goes. And I'm just like selfish. I just don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
log
No, but
on.
I'll just, but see, that's the thing. We can have fun. I'll just screw around. I'll just give like all my tokens to you every month, you know? And then you'll
No,
be like,
no.
stop it. And I'll be like,
I'll
eh.
forget to log in and redistribute them. They'll all just like accumulate.
Exactly. And then people will be contacting you. They'd be like, hey, Zoe, can you
Yeah.
you're holding all the tokens because Rob's being
Oh, that's so
an
funny.
a-hole.
So funny. It's really great.
Yeah. But
Um,
but I think that's right. Like again, it's just a tool, right? It's just a tool. And I
mhm.
mean, if it's not necessary, then that's fine. But the tool, you know, like step back to say like, you know, like I need help with social media. And you know, you can do that. And there's something, right? There's something of value, you know, you
Mhm.
have needs.
Mhm. Yeah.
So how can we help each other, you know, meet our needs, and then, you know, the idea is if it's because there's a lot of needs, you know, like it, you know, can we scale that resource pool? The idea is if the
Mhm.
resource pool, you know, and this is, power in numbers, you know, power to the people. You know, if you scale the
Mhm.
resource pool, right, like a social movement, you know, becomes effective when it has enough, you know,
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
And
Right.
I think that the real magic or alchemy from the resource pool, you know, comes when it reaches a certain level.
Mhm. Yeah, that would be very exciting. Woo.
Yeah. And maybe, right, you know, like there's a, I mean, I think both are possible. You know, there's another, I don't know that this is like a separate thing, but we're saying like, oh, well, maybe, you know, like if there's 7 people and they, you know, you complement each other well enough, then you can do this and you don't need to tokenize anything,
Right, right.
you know.
Yeah.
And so then my question is, you know, do 7 people in and of themselves create a large enough resource pool to really like, you know, create a, you know, systems change?
Um, but yeah, systems change. I mean, I guess we don't really know what that means, I think. Like, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could mean a couple different things, and I'm not sure which one we're trying to address. Because like, what about like the military industrial complex? Like, we're not doing anything to stop wars, even if we have like 1 million people in our community sharing resources. The warmongers are probably still going to be doing what they're doing. And so it's, yeah, it's a smaller systems change, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's, like, right, that's a question I ask myself a lot, right? This question is like, well, okay, well, is there a point to what I'm doing? Does it create systems change? I was talking with my friend Noah yesterday or the day before we were on a walk, and they're very, oh yeah, you'd be so proud of me. I'm participating in a social movement, a little bit, right? But it's
Yeah.
we were talking about, right, because they, that's sort of their primary, like their primary channel. Like, so where am I, where's my channel? Where am I expending my energy, to create positive change in the world, right? It's primarily in direct action, social movements, and I'm primarily in like creating new models, to alternate models to what's here. Yeah, and they were talking about a book, right? I gotta text them and find out, but they were talking about a book that they loved that was really great, that was just where this person was talking about like you need both, and like that this current way of doing things, is dying, and like we need to attend, to what's here now, but also like be, working on different models, and that it's not, sort of one or the other. I mean, I don't know if it's in alignment with Marxist viewpoint or not, but she's, but they said it was, really good.
No, that sounds awesome. Yeah. New models are awesome. And I guess I'm curious, like, because there are a couple new models like around the world. None of them are perfect, I guess. And some of them are, like, people feel different ways about China, for example, but maybe, they have eradicated poverty too, so that's interesting. So like discussing existing models, I guess that's what we do at HSC more, is instead of trying to create a new model, we study existing models and how they're doing, and and then we decide to support the ones we like, which is where it becomes, you could have an opinion not to join ISC for how we might feel about China or something like that.
Yeah. Well, are there any models, right, you're studying? Are there any models that have the same sort of idea or purpose as, as what we're doing here,
I would say Brazil has some interesting models, because like Newman mentioned a few minutes ago, like, Marxism is really cool because, socialism has really awesome aspects, but the centralization of power can be very scary for, in history, it's not always worked out so well. But here in Brazil, like, a lot of the socialists believe in smaller decentralized systems. So like participatory voting, budgeting. So a lot of local areas decide where their taxes go, which is super cool.
That is
and
super
it happens.
Cool.
Yeah, some places in America have tried to make it work, but it's not like the normal around the world yet. But I think that's cool. Participatory budgeting, that's what it's called. Stuff like that. Yeah, I want to know more about China. Lots of negative, lots of positive. India has some interesting systems too, I think. And Calcutta, was it? Yeah, I have so much to learn.
Yeah, I know, me too. I know.
Yeah, and I just feel like maybe researching the existing systems will be easier than creating a new one.
Yeah,
I'm all about lazy. That's really what it boils down to.
yeah. I mean, for me, I think I don't know that it's about easier or not easier, like I don't know where to, like where the best place to channel it is, but like, yeah, I'm not like this is where, my playing in systems, that's like where I think that's where my contribution is, right?
Hmm.
That's where I get like, and right, it's a good point, it's like, oh, okay, well, what's are there systems already? And actually that from the beginning, right? That is always a question, is like, are there systems that are being done that are meeting the purpose of this that are happening already?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a constant question. I'm always asking, hey, what is being done? Right. And I can join because it doesn't have to be holistic systems, cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a need, like there's a certain, I think there's also a certain sort of, that like right now, this isn't necessarily meant to be a governmental system.
Right.
Municipal. It's meant to solve a problem of like, hey, I want to like learn more about all this stuff, and I don't have
Yeah.
time because I have to like, earn money, like, and I
Yeah.
have, right. And so it's like, okay, well, how, is there a way I can come together with other people and we can help each other,
Yeah. I think
in these desperate, in these disparate kind of places, right. Like as opposed to in a government. I don't know.
yeah. I think we can do amazing things by supporting each other. And I think the spirit is one of the most beautiful aspects of the community. I think if it grows and if people hear about the community, it'll inspire so many people to think outside of the box and at least do the mental shift, to a next economic system. And that's awesome. And maybe we don't need to solve the military industrial complex, or the
Yeah.
new Cold War, stuff like that. And that's okay with me because I would love a community of freelancers to like talk about social media with and learn email marketing and stuff like that. That helps me survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a delusion, but I do think that, I think that there's a way where if there are people who, are able to share, like to come together and to share resources and to be in different models that creates
Awesome.
less need for war to actually happen. Like war is coming, right? I mean, war comes from a place of a root cause of scarcity, right? If it's yeah.
I think it's just a profit machine, and it's the people in power are going to profit off endless war for as long as they can. That's my view on it. And that the mind and spirit of the population is already very anti-war right now, yet how the mind and spirit of the population feel will not change what the government decides to do in policy or practice. So like I feel like there's we need a new government. We need a new system. So that, yeah, to address war, I feel like we do need some bigger structural changes that might require something a little different than HSC can provide, which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what HSC, right, and this is where you get into tokens, is where you get into blockchain, right? And this is where maybe some of our you know, like
Ah.
we have different, you know, a different
Oh, yeah, we're
viewpoint, but
getting
I
to the
think that the
root of
idea
it.
is that it isn't about HSC doing, it's about HSC connecting with all the other HSCs, you know, with
Mm,
all that, right? It's if you know, take, if you have a, you know,
got it.
right, like
Hmm.
that, like there's, you know, it's like that, there's this idea, you know, there's like this, the network state, right?
Uh-huh, interesting.
Um, so if you have HSC and HSC has, you know, is providing value in a certain way, but has at its base, you know, collaboration and doing things, you know, you know, in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
If you then connect with, you know, in a ecosystem, you know, a shared value ecosystem with lots of other groups,
I
you
think
know,
it doesn't hurt at all. But I think as long as the ruling class owns the means of production, um, and you could even say as long as BlackRock owns so many of the apartments and houses and land in the world, like we are barred from the material we need to survive. And no matter how much we like share with each other, they've taken so much of it that we need to take it back. And that's what's
yeah,
happening in Brazil, and it's so cool. They're
yeah,
like literally just taking the property back. But there's a loophole here in the Constitution that makes it legal. So we don't have that in America protecting the social movement. So
yeah. I hear you, right? And I think that that's really like I always sit with that, you know. And again, that's, you know, one of these things I always, you know, I always sit with that, right? Like
yeah,
um,
something kind of
yeah. I mean, and what's right? What's true? What's, you know, like I do get that, and I do get, right, that the power structure is going to use, you know, its power to try and quash, you know, other ways of doing things, you know,
mm-hmm.
as much as it can. Um,
Yeah. And if
yeah,
yeah, I don't know, but there's nothing hurtful about a mass community of people who are like-minded and share a vision. Like that's actually
yeah.
maybe the
I mean,
seed.
that's, yeah. I mean, I think a
Mhm.
vision, right? I just, you know, again, maybe, you know, maybe it's just not, you know, it's maybe it's not possible, right? But I do like to think of if you have a large enough group with a large enough resources, then you can start to acquire, you know,
Mhm.
means of production,
Yeah,
um,
you're right.
you know, bit by bit, you know, in a
It
certain way, right?
sure
Like
doesn't
because
hurt.
means of, you know, like you can start to acquire, you know, shared land.
Yeah, I agree.
If you have land, then you have the ability to grow food on it. I mean, I know that there's, you know, a lot, right? You need healthcare, you need, I get it, but um
Maybe enough doctors join the movement that at some point there's the movement hospital.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess if
I
you want to
think
build a hospital, yeah, you need doctors and you need people
that's
who can
awesome.
make a building, you know, and you know, maintain it, and then, right, I guess that's
It's
healthcare.
possible, I
You
guess.
could,
Like,
I mean, that sounds pretty great, you know. It'd
yeah,
be great. You get a bunch of, what you do, you get a bunch of doctors, but you also get a bunch of, like, you know, healers and
yeah,
energy, you know, medicine practitioners and shamans, you know, and
yeah.
you create a hospital of all of those. Now that's a hospital I want to go to.
Hell yeah. That would be amazing. I don't see it as impossible. Um, hmm, yeah, and very exciting. Hmm. And
Yeah.
maybe tokens are necessary to making something so complex possible. I understand that now. Thinking beyond just the little community that I'm sort of envisioning HSC being, but I see if you have these larger goals, you do need something that could scale up. And that's what tokenomics might help with. I understand now.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I understand better too. Thank you. But I think
Thank
you're right.
you.
I think that's the idea, right? Whether it's possible or not, you know, I don't, I don't know what the hell's going to happen, but I do think, yeah, if it's a really good place to come to, is that to create real systems change, it needs to be on a large scale, which is increases in complexity.
Yeah.
And so then that's where you really might need something such as tokens and blockchain.
Interesting.
And smart contracts.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
I guess.
I
It's a lot of work, Rob. That's a lot of work. Oh, geez.
It's fair. See, but that's the thing. It feels to me like less work than trying to change governments. To me, that's where I get lazy. I'm just like, oh, like I gotta try and get these people to like do something.
I know, right?
It's just I'm like, my energy drains. But I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna get together with a bunch of people, and as outlandish as it might sound, it seems to me it feels completely
You're
possible.
aligned then. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And I will help, and I will offer skill shares if it helps the community, and I will sometimes log on to Coordinape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, do you want to go on? We can get you onto Coordinape right now.
Oh, that might be helpful. Let's just
let's do it in real time. All right, I think I'm gonna stop our meeting recording.
Okay, bye everyone.
All right. Yeah, bye everyone. I hope I feel bad for anyone who's still here watching.
I know.
40 minutes of just you've now discovered what a Zoe and Rob conversation is like. Now the world knows what we do when we have
whoever watches this.
Yeah.
Gosh.